All right, welcome to That's Based. It's very rare that we go live, specifically at midnight on a Thursday. It's almost unheard of that we go live, yet nonetheless, here we are. Well, as we all know, Israel launched a number of strikes today, earlier in the day, against Iran. And I would like to tell you that, out of this great feeling of journalistic integrity, I was sitting here waiting for more of the news to come out so I could really establish a good take on it and wait for some of the facts to come out and get a little bit more nuanced information on it and really come forward with the best show I could give you. But that would be a lie because I was out drinking when the strikes happened. And I wanted to sober up a little bit before we found out what the hell was going on. So here we are. Everything. I mean, I'm honestly kind of glad we waited, though, because some more information has come out, specifically Marco Rubio's statement on it. Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, said tonight Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We are not involved in strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Israel advised us that they believe this action was necessary for its self-defense. President Trump and the administration have taken all necessary steps to protect our forces and remain in close contact with our regional partners. Let me be clear, Iran should not target U.S. interests or personnel. So Rubio is on the case negotiating a peace treaty here. Don't worry, guys. Rubio's on the case, which means absolutely nothing will get done. I can assure you nothing will happen if Marco Rubio is the one who's in charge here. Don't you worry at all. But the guy, I actually don't hate Marco Rubio the same way a lot of people who probably vote the same way I do. With that said, though, the guy cannot close a fucking door. Let's just call it like it is. I worked sales for a while when I was younger, and we all knew that guy. It was usually a manager. We called hi bye because he'd come in and say hi to the customers, and the next thing he'd say was bye because he would broom everybody out the door. That's basically Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio is that salesman who cannot close a deal to save his life. So we heard earlier on in the week stories about the U.S. telling everybody to get the hell out of the Middle East. All family members and dependents of military personnel were being told to exit the Middle East. So we all kind of knew this was coming, or we at least knew it was on the table. Because there have been a number of times where Israel's engaged in saber rattling against Iran, but never before, and correct me if I'm wrong, I could be off on here, but never before have we seen an instance where Iran came in, where the U.S. came in and told everybody to get the hell out of the region. That's a brand new idea there. That's a brand new concept. We're yet to see that. So what this says to me, because correct me if I'm wrong, I don't feel like everybody's out of the region yet. I don't feel like everyone's out of the Middle East, all of the American dependents and family members, which means Israel went ahead and did this without regard for the well-being of our people that were in the Middle East. Somebody tells me, keep up the good work. All right. Keep up the hard work. Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. He's been here since 300 subs. All right. I've got lots of potential. He says I got lots of potential. I'm 6 beers deep because the CWS is in town, but I got lots of potential. I appreciate that. But Israel went ahead and they ran this strike knowing that the U.S. had people in the Middle East. Does anyone else have a problem with that? With the lack of regard that our so-called greatest ally has for the well-being of our citizens? No one takes just a little tiny bit of an issue with that? Not just a little bit. That disturbs me. I mean, that kind of bugs me when Trump is like, hey, something shady's going on. It's not like Bibi and Trump don't have direct contact with one another. So when the Trump administration goes, hey, everybody's got to leave, something's about to hit the fan in the Middle East, and Israel really doesn't give us the time to get our people out of there, that bothers me a little bit. It also bothers me when I see that the Trump administration today directed all of their people to try to negotiate a peaceful resolution to what's going on in Israel. And that the Trump administration Monday told them, please don't strike. And they went ahead and did it anyway. Now, if Israel was its own independent nation that, let's be honest here, its survival wasn't entirely dependent on the United States' funding, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I actually understand, and I've been pretty nuanced on this issue more than most people because this is such a stupid topic, and we don't talk about the Gaza situation a lot on this show because it drives me nuts the amount of grifters on both sides. You're either pro-Israel, Israel can do no wrong, and we want them to wipe everybody else in the Middle East off the map, or you're anti-Israel, and everything Israel does is bad. And the reality is neither of those are accurate. I understand why Israel, out of self-preservation, would want to go and strike Iran's nuclear facilities. I get it. You got a crazy neighbor that's threatening you all the time. Like imagine you got let's say you've got a crazy neighbor with just this nut job pit bull, and the pit bull keeps jumping into your fence and it keeps attacking your kids. And by the grace of God, you've avoided anything bad, like major. You haven't had any major incidents where you've had to go to the ER, but it's coming close. So one day you've had enough, and maybe you drop a little bit of antifreeze into that pit bull's water and take the trash out. I don't blame somebody for doing that when you've called the Humane Society a dozen times and nobody wants to help you. Out of self-preservation, I understand why you would want to drop the antifreeze in that pit bull's water bowl. However, the problem here is they're using our money to buy the antifreeze. The problem here is, let's be honest about this, guys. The shit that goes on in the Middle East, I think we would have learned this by now, but I guess I was wrong. The shit that goes on in the Middle East, we're better off if we just stay out of it. Israel only talks the big game they do and only makes the moves they do because they know that Big Brother US is going to be there to back them up. I talked about this exact same thing when we were covering the Ukraine-Russia strikes last weekend. And I told you, we had a kid when I was in high school. He was a couple years younger than his brother, and his brother was a star defensive lineman on the football team. And this kid was an obnoxious prick, and nobody wanted to beat his ass because they knew his brother would step in. Well, one day his brother graduated, and nobody was there to protect him, and he had to shift his attitude. He didn't get his ass beat because he realized that now the floodgates were open and the cat was out of the bag, and now that his brother was gone, he actually had to start acting right. So I think if the U.S. were to tell Israel, hey, we're not going to fund your forever wars anymore, Israel might start acting straight. For once, we might actually see Israel start acting right in the Middle East. Because that's the thing. Israel at this point, all we hear about is how they're our greatest ally. And I'll be honest with you, our values probably align with Israel's more than any other Middle Eastern country. Now, that's an incredibly low bar. But our value, like that's like saying, you know, she's the hottest chick at the socialist club, right? Because they're all disgusting, blue-haired, armpit-haired, 300-pound twats, right? But Israel's cultural values probably do align with ours the best. There's no doubt about it, compared to everybody else in the Middle East. That doesn't mean we have to defend everything they do. I got some real good friends of mine that do some real stupid shit, and sometimes that spills over publicly, and I have to address it on the show. I'm not going to defend everything they do. I'm not going to trash them, but I'm not going to defend everything they do. At this point, and I've said this, I've made this comparison before, Israel's that buddy that you go out drinking with, and time again, they get you into bar fights. And at first, it was like, yeah, we're young and dumb, and we fuck around, and it's whatever. But now it's at the point where it's like, okay, man, I'm 30 years old. I got a wife and kids. I got a mortgage. I can't keep getting into bar fights with you. You got to stop talking shit to all these people at the bar and dragging me into these fights. That's where we're at with Israel right now. Israel's that high school buddy that we just won't cut off. And this is where we're at. So I know they're saying they struck Iran's nuclear facilities, but here's the other thing with Iran's nuclear facilities. We've been hearing since before I was born that Iran was 9 weeks away from getting a nuclear weapon. These are the same people that lied to us about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Why would we think this was any different? Why would we think that the people that lied us into a war in Iraq about weapons of mass destruction have all of a sudden turned over a new leaf and are telling us the truth about Iran having weapons of mass destruction? Why does anyone think that's the case? It's not like these people have done anything that's proven they deserve our trust. All they've done is lie to us about other shit. Why should we trust them on Iran? So I was doing some digging because I got curious about how this is going to affect the rest of the world, because it's a fun time to be in America right now. We've got civil unrest. We've got the military on the streets. We've got these No Kings protests that are threatening to get violent all over the country. And now we've got this crap going on in the Middle East. We really didn't need another problem. You know, it's like when I always make personal comparisons on this show because it's easy for people to relate to. You know, like when life's just taking a dump on you, like when your pipe bursts in your basement and then you go to work the next morning and your transmission blows out on your car. And it's like, what the fuck else is like? What else could possibly happen? And then you drop your phone in the toilet when you do get to work. It's like that kind of. It's been that kind of week for the United States. So I was digging in. I'm like, how does this affect us globally? So heads up, I'm not a financial advisor. We don't give financial advice on the show. You should always talk to someone who knows what they're doing. With that said, I think it's a pretty safe bet to say that if you have not filled up your car with gas, go do it tomorrow, because the prices are going to go up this weekend. That's a given. Gas prices about to go up. I saw the price of oil oil futures dumped like $7 a barrel within a couple hours, because anytime shit pops off in the Middle East, oil prices are going to skyrocket. Speaking of that, when we talk about America first and we think about these oil prices, I don't know, shit, maybe it's not a good idea to rest the backbone of our entire economy on the most volatile, unpredictable part of the world. Has anyone considered that? That maybe the pros of drilling here in the United States and offshore outweigh the cons? Like, maybe we shouldn't rely on countries that hate us to make our economy go? It's just an idea. So I got some notes here. Israel's claiming that this is going to be a deterrence for Iran's nuclear timeline. We don't know. They can also rebuild their nuclear infrastructure. It's not like once you blow it up, we can't get it back. You know, this is not over. So Iran will rebuild this unless they're willing to go in there and kill everyone, which I heard they took out all of their general staff, which, by the way, because that's the report circulating right now, which is that the strike took out all of Iran's general staff, their entire nuclear team, a lot of military. Here's what you guys got to realize. Beware of propaganda at a time like this. There's no way. They have no way of knowing that they killed all those people within a couple hours of the strike. They can say we got the general area where we think these people might be, but to come out and declare, and I quote, all of Iran's general staff as dead after the initial attack smells like propaganda to me. That smells like they didn't have Trump's grace to do this strike. And they went ahead and did it anyway because they figured we'll ask for forgiveness before we ask permission, because we're so used to getting our way with administrations in the United States. And they're really trying to sell it. Like I said, beware of propaganda. I'm sure they got a couple people. I don't believe that they got everyone they're saying they did. It's very, very common for countries to, shall we say, embellish some of the results of a strike like this at a time like this. So Iran's going to begin rebuilding the nuclear infrastructure. This isn't done. Iran's also threatening to strike back on not just Israel, but the United States. They said the consequences will be devastating. Now, do we take that seriously? I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to change anything about my daily life. I'm not worried about that. Iran certainly doesn't have the capability to hit us here on the U.S. mainland. China and Russia certainly aren't going to die for that shithole country, so they're not going to war. So I don't know. I mean, I could see some strikes against U.S. assets within the Middle East to try to fuck with us, but I don't see Iran doing any type of strikes on the U.S. Here's the other thing people got to realize. Iran doesn't really have the ground forces that are necessary to go in and win a fight in Israel. They've got a lot of missiles, they got a lot of drones, but history tells us that winning a war requires ground forces. And Iran doesn't have that. So they may be able to launch some strikes and run some drones out there, but if you can't maintain the ground in which you're trying to occupy, it doesn't really matter. I mean, even Palestine has got enough of a ground game to at least be a little bit of a pain in Israel's ass. Iran can't even do that. The other thing I found out is that Iran, in my research, Iran is the number one supplier of energy, oil, to China. That's a little fun fact right there. If Iran is the number one supplier of energy to China, or one of the top suppliers of energy to China, that means that China could be in a little bit of trouble here. And this preliminary trade agreement that Donald Trump has with China could be out the window, and we could go back and get a little bit sweeter of a deal because all of a sudden the game has changed and China needs us a little bit more than they did this morning. That's another thing we have to consider there. Like I said, you're going to see an economic fallout specifically pertaining to oil prices. The stocks will probably dip a little bit tomorrow. So I'm sorry, we're done riding this high. I think the main thing you're going to see, though, as far as how it affects the United States, is our relationship with our so-called greatest ally. It's like I said, right now, they're the guys who are getting us into bar fights. And we love them. Some of us do. But we're starting to grow weary. You know, our wife's kind of up our ass about it. You know, it's like, I wish you'd stop hanging out with Rick. Every time you guys go out, you get into some new type of trouble. We've all got that one friend that our wife is up our asses about, right? We've all got that one friend that our wives would rather we not hang out with. And that's Israel for the United States right now. I'm the wife in this scenario. Maybe I'll come on the air and drag or something. But this is going to change our relationship because if you remember, before Trump took office, Biden told Netanyahu, don't you go into Rafah or the gravy train stops. We're done funding your operations if you go into Rafah. And Netanyahu went right ahead and did it anyway, and nothing changed. I was making the comparison with immigration earlier. If you're not willing to stand on business and enforce something you said, you might as well not even say it. If you tell your kid you're grounded if you don't eat your Brussels sprouts, and then he doesn't eat his Brussels sprouts and throws a fit, and you don't ground him, you've just sent the message that that kid can skip out on his Brussels sprouts every meal. I don't know who eats Brussels sprouts, side note. I don't know why that's the stereotype we all use. Sorry, I'm still kind of sick right now. But so Netanyahu went right into Rafah. And whether you're a supporter of what Netanyahu did in Rafah or not, that should still disturb you a little bit. You should be a little bit uncomfortable with the fact that a country who, like I said, to be quite frank, doesn't exist without our money and weapons, went ahead and just disavowed what the president of the United States said, absolutely disregarded it, ignored it, and did it anyway, like a spoiled teenager. That should bother you a little bit. Whether you like Biden or not, and we all know I didn't like Joe Biden, That should piss you off a little bit that he went in and did that anyways. Well, what he's going to find out is that there's a new sheriff in town. And while Trump may be trying to play diplomacy right now, if there's one thing we know about Donald Trump, and Netanyahu should know it, and if he doesn't, he's going to find it out pretty soon, it's that that man does not take well to being disrespected. If he feels you've slighted him, that will totally shift the dynamic of your relationship. And Netanyahu, after Trump told them Monday, do not do this, we want to resolve this matter diplomatically, Netanyahu going in and doing it anyway, Trump's not going to take well to that, guys. Trump's going to have a serious problem with that. And I don't think they're going to cut him off totally, but I think it's going to be a reality check for Netanyahu that we're going to start enforcing some of the strings that are attached to your weapons and money that are flowing your way. I'm drinking a lot of water because my voice is cooked. I'm recovering from a nasty cold. I'm still congested. It wasn't COVID. Even if it was COVID, it's fake. So who fucking gives a shit, right? Now, here's what I'll go. Because I always, whenever I go on these diatribes, because like, I think half our audience likes Israel, half of them doesn't. And the pro-Israel crowd will always hit me with, you're anti-Semitic, you don't like Jews, you don't like Israel. None of that's true. That couldn't be further from the truth. I have no problem with Jews. I don't have a problem with Israel. I don't have a problem with Israel and their right to exist and defend themselves. What I do have a problem with is Israel's constant desire to drag the United States in. They're the annoying kid that hangs out with the jocks and knows they're not going to get their asses beat because they've got their back. I don't hate Israel, though. That's what you have to realize. I want what's best for Israel. And Israel may not realize it right now, but what's best for them is not starting shit with all of their crazy neighbors. We've all had crazy neighbors. They're no fun to live by. And you have every right to defend yourself if that crazy neighbor steps out of line. My problem is right now, Israel's egging the crazy neighbors' houses. That has to stop. And they're doing it with eggs that we've given them and we've paid for. And in a lot of cases, we've signed our names on the cartons. That has to stop. Because what this is going to lead to is this is going to lead to American kids going to fight for a country that wouldn't piss on us if we were on fire. That's the problem here. Because I'm telling you right now, if we were being occupied by an invading force, Israel would not come to our rescue. Do you know how I know that? Because we are being occupied by an invading force at the southern border, and Israel hasn't done shit for dick for us. All these badass Mossad guys, you guys couldn't go ice a couple cartel lords for us? No? So this is a one-sided parasitic relationship is what you're saying here. I don't hate Israel. But I think they need a wake-up call, and they need a reality check. It's like a parent with a kid that's a drug addict. At some point, you got to stop enabling the kid's poor decisions. You don't hate your kid because you cut him off and you stop funding his poor life choices. In fact, it's the opposite. It's tough love. You just realize that kid isn't going to stop making those poor life choices until you stop funding it. What's this say? Brett Baer said he talked to Trump and Trump knew about it. Yeah, so Trump knew about it. Sorry, you may have tuned in later. Yeah, I mentioned that Trump knew about it. They knew it was coming. I'll pull the comment back up. I don't know how long this guy's been tuned in, but yeah, Trump knew about it. We talked about that earlier in the show. They knew it was coming. Absolutely. That's why he was trying to get everybody out of the region, and they had been trying to get Israel and Iran to the negotiating table early on in the week. But I don't think Trump greenlit the strike. I don't think he greenlit it. That would be a direct confliction with what both him and Rubio said. I don't think they told him no, but I think they strongly advised against it, which is another criticism I've had of this administration is they're America first, anti-war, let's negotiate. But for whatever reason, I don't get it. I don't understand. They have this soft spot for Israel. Like all over the world, whether it's in China, whether it's in Russia, Ukraine, Taiwan, we want diplomacy first. And we strongly encourage everyone to come to the negotiating table. But when it comes to Israel, we just turn the dogs loose on them. I don't get it. That's the part that doesn't make sense to me. Maybe drop a comment if you know why they do that. I think it may rhyme with Schmepstein, but I don't have any proof of that. So I won't go down that road tonight. But I mean, this is just going to be more Iraq war bullshit. They're in the process of lying us into another war. This has been a long time coming. It's not Trump's fault. It's not Biden's fault. This was going to happen one way or another. Here, what's this say here? This says, New York Times, Iran may be able to build an atomic bomb in 5 years, U.S. and Israeli officials fear. Anyone want to take a guess when that article was published? January 5th, 1995. Before, that was 11 months before I was born. Another comment here. Iran can't have nukes, whatever it's cost. I don't disagree. I don't want Iran to have nukes either. And that's the catch-22 here, is I think a lot of us agree. We don't want to fund these forever wars, but we also don't want Iran to have nukes. So it's like kind of like, what do you do here? And it's like I said, I don't have a problem with Israel going and doing this shit on their own. The problem is we got our fingers all over it. And I don't know if we're ready for the fallout. More importantly, I don't know if we're ready to back up our actions here and back up our talk. Because if this continues to spiral and this goes beyond a couple of strikes, this is going to end up with American troops on Iranian soil. And I mean, you guys, like, we can all sit here and say Iran can't have nukes at any cost. But unless you're willing to put your money where your mouth is and go sign up and fight or send your kid over to fight, I frankly don't have time to hear you talk about it. If you're not willing to send your kids over there to fight for this shit, or yourself, depending on how old you are, I frankly don't have time for your opinion on it. It really doesn't matter to me. I'm scrolling through Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it right now. Let's see here. We're just going live. IDF says more than 200 Israel Air Force aircraft have dropped so far. Over 300 munitions on Iranian nuclear facilities and missile production sites. Numerous targeted airstrike assassinations took place. Okay, well, there you go. So we got drones over Iraq now. Looks like they're going to war there. You know that these war hawks like Lindsey Graham and like Don Bacon are just creaming in their pants right now. This is the big moment that all of these ghouls have been waiting for. And that's the worst part, is it just feels like it's one step forward, two steps back with the neocons and the deep state in terms of how much control they have over our government. It really does. It's like we get Donald Trump in office. We've seen the leaked text where JD Vance is even like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. And it's like we've got some adults in the room in these foreign policy discussions. And it's finally, we're turning the corner on just the next war being the obvious choice for whoever's in office. And then this shit happens. Let's see here. Let's keep scrolling through. We're live. We don't normally do live shows like this. That's why this one's a little bit of a different vibe for those of you that tune in. By the way, we do the show every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, Rumble, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spreaker. We have a good time. It's more organized than this because we do a little bit of research beforehand, and we don't go live half-cocked at midnight. So there's that. Mia's not with us. Mia's in bed right now. She's probably going to come yell at me to keep it down in a little bit here. She's over in the next room. She's not with us for this show. Let's see here. Footage showing shows the Natanz nuclear facility in central Iran was targeted by a second wave of airstrikes from Israel. Yeah, I mean, the shit's hitting the fan here. Right now, there's not really that much more to talk about. If I'm missing something, drop a comment. I want to know because I'm only going off what I can see here. Oh, here we go. 20 minutes ago, Iran launches over 100 drones toward Israel. Trump and the guy dropped the comment that Trump told Brett Barry News that Trump had advance notice of the Israel attack, reportedly told Israel not to do it per Fox. Yeah, and that's the problem. Trump can only do so much. Israel already has the weapons. They already have the means to do this shit. If they ignore his orders, they're kind of playing the same game they did with Biden and with Obama and with Bush and with Trump during his first administration, which is that we're going to ask for forgiveness before instead of asking for permission. We're going to do it. And then for whatever reason, we've got because this is the thing. If any other country did this crap to us, we'd cut them off immediately. So you hear about the Mossad and their intelligence gathering capabilities and all this stuff. What kind of dirt do they have on the people that run this country? That's my big question here. What kind of dirt do they have on the people that run this country? Because they'd be cut off almost immediately. What's this say? Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, lessons learned. Yeah, I mean, I wish we'd learn our lessons. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results? That's not happening. We don't do that. We just do the same shit over and over again. It is happening, I guess I should say. So I don't know. So Iran tweeted their Ministry of Defense or whatever, tweeted a couple hours ago. They said, remember, we didn't initiate it. And then they proceeded to launch their 100 drones toward Israel. The drone warfare creeps me out a little bit because that's pretty much Iran's big thing. And it's kind of like they could have these. I remember when the UFOs were going on over New Jersey and people were speculating that it was some type of Iranian mothership. They could have these motherships in the ocean. We'd have no idea. The oceans are way too big to know what the hell's going on in all of them. And we'd have no clue. And they could just send them at a soft target and blow them to pieces. And there's nothing you can do. I mean, the game's totally changed in that respect. You know, if I'm out walking around downtown at the farmer's market and some lunatic terrorist group wants to do a mass shooting, well, there's ways we can dispose of that would-be mass shooter, whether it be a citizen such as myself that may or may not be carrying a firearm, whether it be an on-duty police officer. I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do. What are you going to do if you're at a football game and 100 Predator drones just swarm the stadium? That's a reality we're going to have to face. And that's a reality that the Department of Defense, more importantly, is going to have to tackle here. Is how do we prevent that from happening? Because that's not as far away as we think it is. If you've just got 100 drones or 1,000 drones that want to swarm a Major League Baseball game that's outside, it's not as simple as shooting a missile out of the sky. It's not as simple as scrambling some jets and blowing a plane up. It's not as simple as sending a SWAT team in to shoot the lunatic that's walking around with a gun. That's a little bit more complicated. And that's where modern day warfare is going to go, is you're going to have real casualties with low risk, high casualties, low risk, because people are going to be able to just terrorize everybody with these drones and with artificial intelligence. Jordan shuts airspace amid Israeli strikes on Iran. Jordan's temporarily closed its airspace in response to escalating regional tensions after Israel launched strikes on Iran. According to the Jordan news agency, the move, described as precautionary, was made out of concern for potential dangers stemming from the unfolding conflict. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be going on all night. This is going to be going on all night. This is going to be, everyone's going to be freaking out about this. All over the region. They know the shit's hitting the fan. They don't want anything to do with it. I'm pretty sure we're probably the only show on right now, too. Everyone else went to bed. We would have went on earlier. I needed to sober up a little bit. Let's see. We got any other hot takes? Let me go to Fox real quick. See what Fox is reporting about, and then we'll hop over to CNN. I'm gonna stay on until 1, and then we're shutting the show off because I got to go to bed. I got shit to do all day tomorrow. So let's see here. Israel hits heart of Iran's nuclear program, which has materials for 9 atom bombs. Mark Levin says Iranians are about to get their asses kicked. Of course, he's out there pounding his chest. U.S. on high alert for retaliation. Drop a comment. What do you think retaliation entails? I'm interested to hear what you guys think. What do you guys think retaliation entails? I want to know. Because I'm not sure. I don't know how Iran. I'm trying to think this through live on the air. How Iran could retaliate against the U.S. in a way that would counter this strike at a somewhat equal level, that would do similar damage. Iran can't touch us on the U.S. mainland. My fear here is, like I said, we had earlier in the week, Trump started telling all these people that were family members and dependents of U.S. servicemen over in the Middle East, it's time to evacuate. And we knew something was going to kick off within the next couple of days when that happened. My fear is they're going to start targeting these folks, these people that didn't get out on time, and there's going to be a lot of innocent civilians. And here's the other thing we got to keep in mind. Israel struck our assets before. Google the USS Liberty incident. I'm not going to accuse anybody of anything, but I'm also not going to be 100% in belief if you see one of these planes that are evacuating these people get shot out of the sky, that it was Iran. That's another thing we got to consider, is how far, because Israel clearly wants to sucker the U.S. into a war. How far are they willing to go goad us into this war becomes the question. How far are they willing to go to get the U.S. to put troops on the ground and wipe Iran off the map? What's it say? Iran sends 300 missiles. Yeah. 300. I didn't see anything about the 300 missiles. I could be wrong. Is that what that said? Yeah, 300 missiles. Two cows die. That's funny. Iran says 300 missiles, 2 cows die. That's probably what happened in the U.S. Yeah, this fucking idiots couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. I mean, that's the other thing you got to realize is if Iran had a nuke or had the capability to strike the United States, Israel would not exist. That's the thing you got to realize, is when we deal with countries like Iran, there's a fundamental difference between dealing with Iran and dealing with a country like Russia or dealing with a country like China. Countries like Russia, countries like China, their issues with whether it be Ukraine, whether it be Taiwan, whether it be us here in the United States, are territorial. And we can disagree with those, and that's fine. But their issues have more to do with conquest, right? Those types of people, yes, they're crazy. Yes, in a lot of cases, they're tyrants. They're lunatics. But they are far easier to deal with than a situation like you have in Iran. Because in Iran, you're dealing with religious extremists. And their beef goes beyond borders with Israel and with the United States. They believe that Israel they call the U.S. the great Satan and Israel the little Satan. So their issue with the United States and Israel is beyond just, this is our border, we want to expand our border, we have this and that territorial dispute. They hate us to our core. That's what you have to realize. And they do. Doesn't justify us going to war with them. But if they had nuclear weapons, they would have dropped them on Israel by now. So when they're gonna come out, the propaganda is gonna come rolling out from totally straight Lindsey Graham and all their buddies down there at the neocons in DC, and they're gonna talk about how Iran was just a couple of days away from getting a nuke. They've been a couple of days away since before I was born, like the article we highlighted earlier, and don't believe it. Don't believe it until you see proof of it. Otherwise, it's just propaganda. It's wartime propaganda. We should have learned by now, and I'm very confident the way that the media's coverage on the immigration protest seems to have backfired in a major way on the Democrats. That tells me that people aren't just buying things hook, line, and sinker from the mainstream media like they were a couple of years ago. That's a very promising sign. And I think it tells me that they're not going to be able to lie us into another war like they did in Iraq. But anyway, back to my point. The problem with Iran is they're different from dealing with a country like Russia, from dealing with a secular country like China, because you can't really. Death isn't the same threat to a religious extremist who believes he is acting on behalf of his God the same way it is to a secular dictator like Xi, like Putin. Because the Ayatollah, the folks in Iran, they think they can, so what if you kill us? This is what Allah wants. If we go kill a bunch of Jews, we go kill a bunch of Christians, whatever, we're going to be rewarded for this. These are crazy people over in Iran. These aren't dictators with a territory goal. So you can't say, Putin won't launch a nuke at Ukraine because it's going to kick off World War III and get him killed. Iran doesn't give a shit. So if Iran actually had nukes, they would have dropped them a long time ago because they're wrong, but in their heart of hearts, they truly believe that America and Israel are pure evil since we oppose the Islamic regime and we have to be wiped off the face of the planet. Make no mistake, if they had the ability to do it, they would do it because they believe that what's waiting for them on the other end is far superior to what they're seeing here. So it's much more difficult to deal with religious lunatics than it is to deal with these dictators like Xi and Putin. Let's see. What's CNN say here? God, how does anyone still go to these websites? They're so far behind the mark. I can go on Twitter and get shit that's up to date in the moment. But people are still going, flocking to CNN or whatever. Thank you guys. Share around if you like the show. Like I said, we do this every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Outlaw streamers. We're on Rumble. You can follow my YouTube, Caleb Salvatore. Drop a sub, share it around. Apple Podcasts, you're listening on there. Drop a 5-star review. I don't know what the deal is. We're not on Spotify. We keep getting kicked off of Spotify. I think I say retard too much for them, so they don't like me that much over there. We've been trying to get back on there for almost a year now, and it's one step forward, 2 steps back. So I don't know. Let's see here. All right, let's see what's Twitter saying. I'll stand by it. Attack of the Clones is the best Star Wars movie. That's nothing to do with this, but this is that's the most controversial thing I've read on here today, I think. I don't even like Star Wars, but let's see here. Yeah, it seems like it's all quiet on that front now. Israel has sent. Where'd my CNN shit go? 200 Israeli fighter jets used in strikes on Iran. Israel's military says 200 fighter jets have been used in its ongoing strikes in Iran. More than 100 targets have been struck across Iran. Over 330 various munitions. We already read this. So there's nothing new. I've already told you my spiel on it. There's really not anything else to talk about. I'm very cautious about any piece of news that comes out from either the U.S. government or from Israel or from Iran, for that matter. I don't think we can trust anybody here. And regardless of the outcome, the losers are going to be the 20-some-year-old kids that get shipped off to die in a pissing match between a bunch of baby boomers. Those are the real losers here, what everyone has to remember. I'm not anti-Israel. I'm not even necessarily anti-funding Israel, but I am a firm believer that if you're going to take our money, you damn well better listen to what we're telling you to do. If we say don't strike and you go ahead and do it anyway, there need to be consequences for that. I remember when I was getting married, when you get married, everyone has an opinion on what should happen at your wedding. Everyone has an opinion on the colors and the flowers. And when you're the groom, you don't give a rat's ass. But it got very, very annoying for me planning the wedding to have all these people chiming in. And I finally laid down the law with people. I said, okay, here's how we're going to do this from here on out. You're not going to give me your opinion on what my wedding is going to be like unless you're giving me money for it. If you're paying for part of my wedding, my in-laws did. They gave us a decent amount of money to pay for our wedding. Their opinion was considered strongly. Again, I didn't give a rat's ass. I just wanted everybody to have a good time. If you're paying for the wedding, you get a say on some of the details. If the United States is going to supply Israel with the weapons, with the money, with the supplies to carry out these strikes, and it's not like we're just paying for 5 to 10% of it. We're funding pretty much the whole operation over here. And then the United States says, hey, don't do this. That should be the end of discussion. We're dealing with a bratty teenager that doesn't respect us right now. And I think it's time that we take the car away from him. That's been my show. Looks like news is coming to a halt. I'm sure there will be more shit tomorrow that we can follow. Thank you guys for following along. Like I said, every Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, we do this 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. Share the show around. Tell everybody what a great show we have here. Buy from our sponsors. If you're a wine fan, we got Drink Blood of Tyrants with the promo code BASED, BASED. Like the title of the show, you'll save 10% off your order at the checkout. They got 2 types of wine, both red and white, along with the Liquid Freedom energy drink that you see right there. DrinkBloodOfTyrants.com. Promo code BASED, BASED, like the title of the show. You'll save 10% off your order at the checkout. We also got this cool sponsor called Tactilian, TACTILIAN.com. With the promo code BASED, you'll save 15% off your order at the checkout on gifts for the Patriot in your life. Decor for home and office, apparel for yourself, for your dog, decals for your vehicle. I have the U.S. flag decal on my car. It's been on there. I've sat it out in the rain and hail through all these nasty weather conditions. It's never even as much as chipped. The shit is quality, and a portion of the proceeds are going to go to help build homes for wounded veterans. One more time, that's Tactilian.com, TACTILIAN.com. Use the promo code BASED, BASED, like the title of the show. You'll save 15% off your order at the checkout. Last sponsor is our friends over at Firecracker Farms, firecracker.farm, not .com.org or .net, firecracker.farm. With the promo code BASED, BASED, like the title of the show, you'll save 10% off your order at the checkout on hot salt. Hot salt's a combination of Mediterranean sea salt, scorpion pepper, Carolina Reaper, and, of course, ghost pepper. Hot salt goes great on everything. You come on, summer's coming up. You're trying to get that swimsuit body rolling. You don't want to eat too many sauces, but you also don't want to sacrifice the flavor. In come spices, and Firecracker Farms hot salt's the perfect one for that. It's firecracker.farm, not .com.org or .net. Made right here in the USA. Use the promo code BASED, BASED, like the title of the show. You'll save 10% off your order at the checkout. That's the shameless plug. I have to fund my wife's shopping addiction. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, we're on here talking about death and destruction and bombs, but I know she's going to go blow, a bag at TJ Maxx this weekend. So I got to come on here, for our bonus show and pimp the sponsors that are going to help pay for that. That's all I can do. That's been our show. We got a show airing Saturday, 9 a.m. We're going to talk all about the LA riots for a couple of hours. Come hang out then. Maybe we'll do more live broadcasts like this at midnight because you guys were a fun crowd. Thank you guys so much. Cheat on your taxes, not your spouse. You know the drill. Stay based.